I'm Brad Carpenter. I'm one of the many canvases of Peter Blackhand Madsen. So I was attracted to ink for my entire adult life. I would always notice it on men and women and wonder, what would I get someday? But as the years went by, I could never make up my mind of what symbol or design or what would I have that I would want to have engraved in my flesh for the rest of my life. I did eventually settle on a tree of life that had a lot of meaning for me, and I put my Hebrew name, Baruch, in the middle of it and had it placed here on my shoulder. And then maybe 6 months later, I met Gunny at Sacred Tattoo, and I brought him various new tribal designs that I was inspired by, and he took those as inspiration and created something beautiful and wonderful and original. And that was a much bigger commitment. It was the shoulder and upper arm, and I had those two tattoos for a while. I was doing research for a project I'm still very much in the middle of called Inkman, that I'm writing and will produce one day. And I saw Peter's work and my jaw dropped. I just had never seen anything so magnificent, such large scope, and the armor aspect of it and how it worked with the musculature of the male physique. Well, and the female physique. I mean, it just, he worked with the canvas in all its beauty. I said it was like he was doing a painting on sculpture. But then I noticed his shop, Meat Shop Tattoo, was in Copenhagen, and I thought, well, how am I going to get to Copenhagen to work with this guy? The idea of getting on a plane to go work with a tattoo artist seemed like the furthest thing from my world. I noticed also, though, that he was having a guest stint in New York City at Sacred Tattoo, the one shop I really knew, and I called Kevin and begged him to get me on some sort of wait list, and he did. And then I got a call that they had made some time for me. When I got there, they handed me a book of Peter's work, which to inspire me, and I was like, no, I've already memorized all of those images. I know his work. And I just told Peter, look, you can do whatever you want. Here's the shape of it. I envision a mandala in the center, my back, upper center, and the design to follow the line of my trapezius. It was important for me to follow the musculature, and I think that resonated with him. And I know he didn't mind the fact that I said, look, total creative freedom. I want to let you, the artist, do your work. And we had a great time. I didn't realize at the time what a conundrum I'd placed Peter in, that these two very different designs, and he was going to bridge it with this large design, and somehow he managed to find aspects of each of those designs and blend them together. And that was truly impressive. I continued to request working with Peter whenever he would be in New York, which was about every 6 months. So a couple times a year for a few years, I would get to work with him for a day or two on the weekends, because I was trying to schedule it around work. Then Peter had a bit of a life change and decided to move his shop to Barcelona, and also decided to forego doing more trips to New York. And he told me, if you want to work with me, you're going to have to come see me in Barcelona. And I was like, okay, I will do that, absolutely. But it's tricky. I'm a freelancer, and for me to do a week-long trip overseas, it would have to be in between jobs, or at least at a time when it wasn't super busy. So finally, there was a situation where I saw that I could make time and booked the flight and went to Barcelona and worked with Peter for a full week of inking, 5 days in a row. Got to see and meet the other artists at Meat Shop. it was such a magical journey. And at the end of that week, I saw Peter trying to reconcile the bigger plan with the neo-tribal tattoo. And it just, he tried a few things, and then he showed me his, essentially a representation of what he would do, which was a blackout tattoo over the neo-tribal, but then a white tattoo on the black, preserving the energy of the original tattoo. It took me a minute, maybe 5, to wrap my head around something that big and different, but I agreed to do it, and it was a great decision. Somehow in doing the blackout, it felt like I was getting to start clean with Peter, even though he did take this original this tree of life and use it as a mandala for a bigger tree of life, but sort of solidifying the overall design was a great thing, and yet preserving the energy of Gunny's work with the white tattoo over black. We still have another layer or 2 of white to go over the black to really make it pop, but it's already something very beautiful and interesting. I did 2 trips to Barcelona, a trip to northern Scotland, where we sort of finished and contained the chest piece, and then did those beautiful bands that go up to my back. And this next visit was to start the work on my legs, which was going to be a lot. That's a lot of ground to cover. So I begged him to book me for 2 weeks, knowing we would have to take breaks along the way, of course, but I wanted us to be able to get to a good completion. So I actually had about 5 shows I was interviewing with, and I explained diligently to each show that if they wanted to work with me, they had to allow for this 2-week tattoo trip. And they all agreed to it. And then I picked a show, and 2 weeks before I was supposed to fly over there, everything changed, and I had to deal with that reality, as everyone had to deal with their realities changing. And now we'll just wait, and we'll continue the journey. And I very much look forward to that.